Oh well. Hey everyone. Yeah, I've been talking to myself for a minute here because I didn't quite fully understand YouTube live streaming. I've done it on Twitch a time or two before just to play around with it, but we're just getting started here. So we're going to go back and start this whole thing over. I went through a couple of coins and stuff, but we'll go back to where we were. Go back to Bitcoin USD. I think I've been looking at this on Coinbase. Yeah, we're looking at this on a weekly chart right now. And for those of you who don't know, I said in my announcement video that I want to start doing weekly reviews, and I think a live stream is probably a good format for it for now. We'll try it out. I believe all the data is going to be archived and everything, so we'll get to see what's going on. And if there's something wrong with the stream, please let me know. This is the first time doing it. I think the quality should be good. Everything's coming back good on YouTube side of everything. So I'll go ahead and get started on talking. So looking at the Bitcoin weekly chart, honestly, we've had some tightening range. Everyone has been watching this, and they all keep drawing, triangles or wedges or pennants, whatever you want to call it. But one of the things I've noticed is these are definitely higher lows, and these are definitely lower highs. It's kind of semantics, whether or not you think it's a triangle or whatever. But one of the things I do like about TradingView right now is that I can switch this to like a 5-day increment on the candles, and it makes things a little bit more clearer. You can actually see a slightly different trend here, and it's a little bit more obvious. Well, that didn't turn out that great, but I don't know. I think it looks better on the 5-day chart than it does on the weekly, and that little drawing tool gets in my way every time. Okay, so the general idea is that price is consolidating right here, and I did have the Bollinger Bands on just to show you on the weekly. They're starting to tighten up pretty good. The backed launch is tomorrow. If you don't know what backed is, it's physically settled Bitcoin trading, mostly for institutional people. So the reason it's so exciting is that it is physically settled, and that all of the trades are going to be paid back in Bitcoin instead of people trading for cash. Like instead of buying and selling Bitcoin for cash, they're going to be trading Bitcoin to get Bitcoin, essentially. So if they have a winning trade, they'll get Bitcoin back. At least that's the way I understand it, and it's pretty promising. If you've ever traded at BitMEX, you'll know that it's a really good way to trade and to stay in Bitcoin. So even though you're holding a position, you still hold the Bitcoin that you went into the position with, and then at the end of the position, if you were profitable, you get more Bitcoin. So it's really a great trading tool to keep people in Bitcoin so that they don't want to go back to cash or whatever, and it kind of keeps the price up, in my opinion, that people are holding it. Anyway, back to the Bitcoin chart. Let's go back to the daily. The weekly, you can see, has gotten really tight. So let's go back to the single day chart. And these things have definitely gotten really tight on the Bollinger Bands. These are super tight right now. I'm trying to see if there was a time where they were tighter this year, and they have definitely not been. Maybe if you go back into where we dropped off that cliff from 6K all the way into 3K, maybe you can say they were just as tight then, but I don't know. They're really tight up here. One of the things I'm looking at, and I think a lot of people are looking at, is this 200-day moving average. If it were to break down, that's kind of my target for looking to get in a little bit more on a position. And of course, trade your own stuff, but if the price jumps down or falls down to the 200-day moving average, this is where I would expect it to hold if it is still a bull market. There's room for it to go down during a bull market. I know last bull market, it never went below the 21-week EMA and never closed below the 1-week mid Bollinger Band. And you can see the mid Bollinger Band, it is right on it right now on the weekly chart. So If it holds to the last bull market patterns, then it's going to bounce here. But, every cycle can be different. Every trade can be different. So on the daily, if it does break down, I'm expecting it to be around the 200-day moving average because, of course, we're already under the 100-day moving average. Either way, I don't think it's too bad. If it does come down to the 200-day, I think it's going to keep the Stoch RSI oversold quite a bit if it stays down there and goes down to that 200-day average. It's going to give it plenty of room for some relief and to make a big move back up potentially. So that's where I'm at with Bitcoin right now. I've had some other ideas that I've posted on my TradingView account. I started posting the ideas on there as well as the scripts. If you watched the video earlier where you could see the scripts, I started with the very first one here, and we just kind of talked about how you would add an indicator, a custom developed indicator to the chart. And we're going to go through all of these tutorials, and you can see where I'm at now. I'm using this one, and it actually has forecasted movements on the moving average if the price were to stay flat for the next 5 periods. So it gives you an idea of what the trend would be in that moving average if you took out the last few candles. That's pretty useful stuff, and I'll go over that in other videos on here. But for now, let's keep it to the weekly stuff. I want to get through this pretty quick so that I can get back to things. But XRP, this idea, I really think this one might be onto something because the MACD is crossing over on the weekly. Stoch RSI has been down for a very long time, and if you look at the chart on the idea, historically, it's hardly ever been down that long, that low. So I like it to potentially bounce back up here, but I am wanting to note that there is this potential area of resistance here that I'm looking for it to kind of slow down at least, or probably turn back around if it's not alt season. I don't think it's alt season yet. I think Ripple might be one of the first to make a huge move if it is alt season. So I'm really watching this resistance line pretty closely. If it were to burst through this and close, then that would be a huge indicator that maybe not only XRP or Ripple are going up to higher levels, but maybe altcoins in general. But I'm not entirely convinced, and I'll show you why. Let's look at the chart here, and I believe that was Poloniex. Yes, so this is the daily chart. And if you read the idea that I posted on Trading, you can see that we were testing resistance at the 100-day moving average, and I was kind of expecting a retest of the 50-day moving average, which it looks like it's going to do. And in that case, it would try and bounce off support and potentially come up to the 200-day moving average and that line of resistance I was talking about, which looks like they're going to coincidentally be intersecting here. And usually when key lines of support or resistance intersect, it tends to pull the price to it for some reason. I've noticed this in the market several times. Most notably on the downtrend in the bear market for Bitcoin in 2018, is that key resistance levels, or support levels I should say, when they intersected, it seems like Bitcoin always seemed to make a move toward it. So it's something I'm keeping an eye on. It'll be interesting to see if Ripple makes a move up towards 4,300 satoshis or so by the first week or so of October, which is not very far away at all at this point. So yeah, let's turn this back to the weekly chart. All right, yeah, you can see it's leaving this area, and it's already quite high on the Stoch RSI, which is another reason I think if it does move up, maybe it does stall out at that line of resistance that we were talking about. All right, just had a couple more ideas I wanted to go over before we move on and call this video. Litecoin and Bitcoin. Now, I looked at this one on the 4-hour chart the other day. I thought it looked pretty good. This is the weekly chart. It's kind of in the same position as a lot of other alts. This Stoch RSI has been down for a very long time. And you can see there was something kind of similar back here earlier in the year, or earlier back in 2018, I should say, where the price just kind of continued to dive down, and then it finally, after being oversold for a very long amount of time, wanted to come back up. And it looks like it's kind of doing something similar here. And I think, yeah, there's probably some room here for it to come up quite a bit. And it looks like the MACD is wanting to turn back over. It's going to be kind of hard for it not to, because there's all this downward momentum on the moving averages. It's going to have to really dump hard to keep the MACD from crossing back over. Although if you know the MACD indicator, the price can stay completely flat or just kind of generally float around this area, and it'll return back to kind of a neutral position at 0. So just something to keep an eye on. But I do think it looks like it's good to turn back up for just a little bit. And looking in a little bit closer, this is what I was looking at on a 4-hour chart. You have this kind of wedge. Let me zoom in even further, all the way into the 4-hour chart. This is what I was looking at when I made the idea, and I was hoping that the 50-day would prove as support, or the 50 period would prove as support. It doesn't look like it's happening, but the prices are still kind of consolidating in this tight range here. Let's kind of redraw this and you can get an idea. Okay, so I mean, if you just redraw it, it works. But honestly, the momentum on the MACD looks like it's shifting back towards a potential turn up. The stochastic RSI on the 4-hour is way oversold. I still think this is a good spot personally for me to go, to think that it's going to go up. You know, I think there's a lot of great room here on the 4-hour. This wouldn't be something I'd want to be in for a long time, because like I said, if you go back to the 1-day chart, I mean, it's kind of moving down here on the stochastic RSI, and I would kind of expect it to continue going down there. But in the short term, or maybe even just this week, it can have a bounce back up. Who knows? This one's a little bit harder for me to read outside of that 4-hour chart right now to see what it's going to do, mainly because some of this stuff is pretty neutral, and if anything, the MACD looks like it might be getting ready to turn down. So there's a lot to keep up with here and kind of see what's going on. All right, Nano and Bitcoin. Nano is something I'd kind of followed for quite a while. I loved when I used Nano, how you were able to transfer things with no fees. I mean, it was really cool. But as you can see on the idea, I noted that we are potentially hitting resistance here on that 50-day moving average. And that 50-day moving average also goes back to being support on Nano quite a while back. The Stoch RSI looks like it's turning down as well. So it definitely looks like it's going to continue to play out like that, which is unfortunate because if you go back out in the chart, Nano's pretty much been nothing but down, and I'm not really seeing much good for it right now, personally. It's a shame, and somehow Nano, despite losing all of this, is still market cap number 45 on Coin Market Cap. The coin, I think it might have been in the top 20 up here. I don't know. This was at the peak of the alt mania, but it has went nothing but down pretty much ever since then, and it's still in the top 45. I'm absolutely shocked there hasn't been a better relief for it here in the last week or two, when some of the other coins have been getting some pretty decent relief. I know Stellar, I think, had a pretty big jump up, and some other coins as well. It just doesn't make any sense to me why a top 50 coin doesn't have any relief, but it is what it is. I'm not too worried about it. I'm not really looking for anything here right now. Nothing really stands out. Then I think it might be going down some more. But I don't know. I really don't know. all I really noted on this one, I had a neutral position on this idea, and if anything, I would lean towards it going back down just because it is testing resistance. It's going to have to get a boost from just general altcoin dominance coming back up if it's going to make a play towards going higher. So the other one that I'm going to cover before the end of this video is the basic attention token. And this one, as I mentioned when I was talking about Nano and what was it, Ripple or Litecoin, excuse me, Litecoin, it's coming up to support or coming up to resistance on a 100-day moving average, which also happens to coincide with previous support in the past going back quite a ways. So I'm kind of expecting it to, at the very least, slow down here and turn back around. You can see this is the daily chart. Stochastic RSI was awfully high. So it, to me, I think it was going to turn around. I don't even know what it's at right now. I haven't checked it since I made that idea. Let's check it out right now. Yeah. So you can see it definitely did turn down from testing the 100-day moving average there. Where was it? Yeah, it was still green. The last candle was still green when I made the idea. So that one turned out to be pretty good. It's down quite a bit. I think I made it around here. 0.2, it's at 0.19. That's what, 5%? Not bad. But it could very well, of course, like the other ones that I've mentioned, find support at the 50. Uh, is probably definitely not alt season yet. From what I can tell, there's really going to have to be a major move. Now, in my opinion, personally, I don't think it's all that bad of a time to start averaging in on altcoins because the all-time highs are way up here on pretty much all the altcoins, and the current price way down here. Now, can some of these coins go to zero? Absolutely. Do I think the basic attention token, which Brave uses, the browser that I'm using right now, do I think the token that it is using is going to go to zero? No, not at all, because there actually is a use case for that token, and they use it for their advertisements daily. People get paid or tipped in basic attention tokens. I am a Brave verified publisher myself, but I do see the potential for it to continue to go down. And obviously, I don't want it to go down below this level, but could it? Yeah. Personally, I'm looking at averaging in. I think I started averaging in a couple of weeks ago for myself on different altcoins, and basic attention token has been one of them. Now, I don't make huge plays in altcoins, I'll be honest, and I can't recommend anything for anyone. If you look at the video descriptions, you'll know that none of this is financial advice. Okay, I'm just a really good developer who likes to create stuff related to trading, and I have a pretty good sense for this stuff. But could it come down more? Absolutely. But the risk to reward is getting so good that I'm having a hard time not justifying averaging in on some of these really good alt projects. And you'll notice here, I mean, there's still kind of a divergence going on, even though it's gotten this relief. And maybe it'll come down some more. But the MACD on basic attention token hasn't been above zero, really. I mean, it's above zero here in the last couple of days, but it hasn't been significantly above zero since back in the 1st of May. It's been a long time. There's a lot of potential on the risk reward, in my opinion. So that's why I'm averaging in on some of these things. I mean, pretty much all alt charts look like this in some form. Now, Nano, of course, that was a bit different. That one might have a harder time coming back up. You know, there's really not as strong of a use case for Nano, even though the technology is really cool. I don't see people using Nano every day, like basic attention token, and I also don't see Ripple really being used every day. But that doesn't mean it isn't. I think they said it's meant for banks or something. but I don't see it being used. Personally, I see Ethereum, I see basic attention token, I see all kinds of different coins being used that have held up a little bit better in the long run compared to some of these other altcoins like Nano. Mostly the ones that I would be looking to average into personally are probably top 30, because I think if an alt season does occur, most of the money that is in Bitcoin will roll into those higher cap alts. And then once people have made enough money off their higher cap alts, they'll probably move them into the low cap alts once they have finally been beaten down comparatively to the rest of the market. That's just kind of where I'm thinking this is going, because you can already see it that some of the higher cap alts are holding up a lot better versus Bitcoin than the lower caps. And you'll notice in the last bull run, or the last altcoin mania, alt season, whatever you want to call it, that's kind of how it happened. The altcoins that were higher market cap were the first to move up. And actually, let me pull up coin market cap and I can actually kind of show you this. Let's see, where is the dominance tool? Here we go. Let's go back, and you can see these huge moves in Bitcoin dominance down. That looks like it was mostly Ripple there causing that. Let's take out some of these other ones. Some of these other smaller ones here. And the others. Okay. So you see there was a huge move in Bitcoin dominance. It was mostly Ripple. And then a huge chunk in Ethereum. And then it shuffled back into Ripple. But it was all coming out of Bitcoin. It was mostly going between these two coins all the way down on that dominance thing. But you'll notice the Bitcoin dominance kind of stayed low. I mean, it had a good jump here. But what do you think happened at this point in time from when Ripple was so high, or Ethereum, excuse me, I got them mixed up. When you think Ethereum was so high and Bitcoin was so low, and they actually kind of went sideways, or Bitcoin kind of went sideways and Ethereum kind of bled out. That money didn't all go back into Bitcoin, obviously. It didn't shoot straight back up. A lot of that money, I think, went back into the lower cap coins that aren't even on this chart, the others. Don't really see it so much on the chart. There's so many of them. But that's just my opinion on what's going to happen. But you can see that the major players get the huge boost. And then I think everyone else is left getting scraps. But I think that's probably going to take care of it for the video today. Thanks for sticking tuned to the stream. Those of you who did, I do appreciate you checking in. It's my first time doing that. I want to make this a weekly thing and hopefully get some more people involved. These indicator scripts are coming along very well. I'll show you. I have 5 set up. We're going to have 5 videos already. And you can see I'm actually using these, and we can see the moving average crossovers. We're printing labels with information about the indicators. And then also at the end of the moving averages, we're actually doing forecasting now as well, which is pretty cool. But anyways, I'm going to end the stream. Thank you all for checking it out. For those of you who actually came by the stream, I appreciate it. We're just getting started. I know there's hardly any viewers during the live stream, but we'll be good. It's growing. It's just starting. Thank you all.